5PMNation.com.
Democrats are rolling out an ambitious plan to eliminate the U.S.'s carbon emissions and revamp the American economy. It's called the Green New Deal, and it's being spearheaded by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Ed Markey. They unveiled the non-binding resolution Thursday. It aims to completely transition the U.S. to a renewable energy system, achieve net zero American greenhouse emissions, decarbonize major segments of the economy, and make big investments in climate-friendly infrastructure, all while creating millions of jobs. It also looks to address issues like racial and economic equality, universal health care, and housing and job guarantees. Those are some pretty lofty goals, but Ocasio-Cortez told NPR, even the solutions that we have considered big and bold are nowhere near the scale of the actual problem that climate change presents to us. Supporters of the resolution say aggressive actions like these are necessary when it comes to fighting climate change. But critics argue the legislation is taking on too much too fast, and it's unclear exactly how all of its expensive goals will be funded.
Like some freaking paradise. Are you people savage? Pull the knife out from my back. In the company of rich, I'll take royalty over royalty. Who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? I see him coming in us, but when the Molotov drops, tell me who do you trust? Who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? I see him coming in us, but when the Molotov drops, tell me who do you trust? Caught between the thorns and the roses, people going in and out of focus. I'ma need to check all your motives and see the fire laying under where the smoke is. Who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? I see him coming in us, but when the Molotov drops, tell me who do you trust? Everywhere I go, I see people passing by. They keep staring back at me like some freaking paradise. Are you people savage? Pull the knife out from my back. In the company of rich, I'll take royalty over royalty. Who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? I see him coming in us, but when the Molotov drops, tell me who do you trust? Who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? I see him coming in us, but when the Molotov drops, tell me who do you trust? Who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? I see him coming at us, but when the Molotov drops, tell me who do you trust? Who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? I see him coming at us, but when the Molotov drops, tell me who do you trust? What? Who do you trust?
Let's take you now to Mean Gene Okerlund in a rather unusual set of circumstances. Let's take you to Mean Gene.
The wall, it remains to be seen, but I've got to say this. I think Mullah's behind the whole thing, Wendy.
Oh, I do too, and I know she's digging up girls from everywhere that want this belt. Every woman in professional wrestling wants my belt, but I want it too, and I had to fight inch for inch to get this, and I'm not about to lay down on my back and let someone cover me.
I thank you very much. We're going to be right back.
Sequence starts. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I stand up here giving speeches for an hour and a half, many times without notes.
Hey, everybody, welcome. It's Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM, emanating from downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Streaming at WMNHradio.org. Of course, we're also on Channel 97 Comcast if you're in the Manchester area, and on Facebook via Facebook Live on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. I already see some folks in there. Jenny is in there. Dr. Jeff Cassell, Christian Cunard. Hello, welcome. Today is, of course, Thursday, February 7th, 2019. The number to call is 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. Let me mention quickly, too, a programming note for tomorrow. We're going to do some music tomorrow. We're going to have members of the band Sepsis, who are from New Hampshire. I think they're from Manchester, actually, so I think they're very local, if I'm not mistaken. But they're going to be here, and we'll play a couple tunes. I might even play a tune later for you today on the show, give you a little preview, but that'll be fun. Today, of course, there's a million things going on in politics and world events and so forth to talk about. An embarrassment of riches, as it so often is. I've also got the Twitter open, by the way, if you want to tweet me during the show, at Matt Connarton. You just have to be able to figure out how to spell Connarton. I stole that from Michael Smerconish, who always says that. If you've ever heard Michael Smerconish's radio show, he always says, if you can figure out how to spell Smerconish. So I've been neglectful of Twitter, so trying to really kind of get back in. So you can tweet me, you can post in the Facebook live chat, you can shoot an email to Matt Connarton Unleashed at Gmail. Sometimes Mike Doyle will email me during the show. And, of course, like I said, give us a call, 603-250-6007. Today, by the way, following the show at 6 p.m., of course, is the weekly Dion. They will be joined by Ben and, of course, his father, Darryl Dion, will be joined by Peter Telge, who is it called the Stark Mill Brewery now? Used to be Millie's. I know Peter from back in the day. I used to do a lot of shows at Millie's when I was really active in promoting local shows. So that's something you can check out. Or another option too is I will be immediately following this show. I will be jumping on and guest hosting the Dr. Kevin Show. I'm usually on the Dr. Kevin Show, which is on the Ohm Times Radio Network online at ohmtimes.com/IOM, and that's Ohm, O-M as in Ohm, ohmtimes.com/IOM, Ohm Times Radio. You might have seen Ohm Times Magazine, but I join Dr. Kevin one Thursday a month, and we talk about politics and whatever, but then occasionally he'll ask me to guest host for him. So I am guest hosting for him tonight, so you can listen to that at 6 p.m. on Ohm Times if you want to check that out. And then, like I said, tomorrow we have members of Sepsis coming in. So lots of fun and excitement, as they say. Who they are, I don't know. Speaking of fun and exciting, isn't this exciting? According to Reuters, Iran, I can never decide how to say it. I go back and forth. I feel horrible about my own inconsistencies in this matter. Iran sounds more like, the right way to say it. Iran is a Flock of Seagulls song, isn't it? Or is it I Run? I think he says I run in the song. And I run so far away. But I think the song is actually called I Ran. Not Iran, the country, like I ran. But anyway, I'm going to try to stick with Iran. I'm going to try to stick I'm going to try to pick a pronunciation rather and stick with it because I feel that it's important. It probably doesn't matter to you at all, but it matters to me. I feel terribly self-conscious when I'm not consistent in my pronunciations of things. Iran reveals missile, shows off underground factory. Oh, goody. This is breaking news, by the way, because I did not see this earlier when I was doing my show prep. I'm so excited. I already need a big gulp of water. Now, thank goodness today, and if you're watching on Facebook Live, you can see I remembered to bring my big jug of big water. I call it big water because it's in a big jug. Which is exactly the same as regular water. It makes no difference, really, what it like, you know, I think the first big bottled water company when bottled water became a thing was Evian. And somebody told me a story, and I've never looked this up to verify if this is true. Somebody told me a story once that all the guy did who started Evian, and let me just say, I don't want to get sued by Evian, so let me just say this. This probably isn't true. I'm just repeating a story that I've heard. I'm not saying that this is true or that I believe it. But somebody told me once that the guy who started Evian, all he did was, you know, he had this idea. He took empty plastic bottles and he filled them with tap water and just started selling them. He put an Evian label on there and he started selling them to people. And that is the reason that Evian is naive spelled backwards. Now, I don't know if that's true. And the person who told me that story, now that I'm thinking about it, is a pathological liar. So it's probably not true. I'm going to take another gulp, though. Because these fluctuations in temperature this winter are just murder on my throat. Not that I mind. I don't mind the very, very warm weather at all. It's quite wonderful. Yesterday, I didn't have my bottle. But what I instead brought in was, because I had it in the vehicle, I had a big gulp. At 7-Eleven, you get the big gulp. I had a big gulp cup that I rinsed out and put water in that. But the problem with the cup is, because I'm usually, when I go to grab, I'm going to take one more gulp. When I go to grab a gulp of water during the show, I'm usually in a hurry, because you can't have dead air, which is what you effectively have while I'm gulping water, right? So it's important to be quick and efficient about it. Kind of like, remember years ago, Marco Rubio, when he was giving the Republican rebuttal to Obama's State of the Union address, and there was the thing with the water. He had to be quick. He knew he had to be very quick and efficient about it because he was in the middle of giving the rebuttal to the State of the Union. Of course, that backfired on him because it made him look a bit silly. He would have been better off just, not being quite so quick and being so awkward about it. He was so quick about it that it was awkward. But yesterday, when I had my big gulp cup, it's hard to be quick with the big gulp cup because it's a big cup. I didn't have a straw for it or a lid or anything. I'm just drinking out of this big cup. I kept ending up with water in my facial hair. So then I'm like, I'm sitting here like a wet dog with water in my hair. It was horrifying, and then it's like I got to wipe the water out, and that's not very professional as a broadcaster. So I'm very pleased to have remembered today to bring this big jug. It's much easier to take a quick, efficient, not at all spilling, I'm a klutz, so I spill things, not at all spilling gulp of water that doesn't end up in my facial hair, or worse, just all over me. I mean, that happens too sometimes. It's terrible. I'm going to take one more gulp here. That's good. Big water in the big jug. Okay. I finally trimmed my facial hair today. That's another sign too that, it's getting a little shaggy here, is when I'm getting a lot of water in it and I'm becoming, waterlogged. Because I have all this water in my facial hair. So then it's like, okay, I got to trim this because then maybe the water will just kind of roll off of it. I don't understand. I know I've said this on the show before, but bearding is a big thing now. It's such a big thing that they actually call it bearding, where all these guys, they got the big beards. It's like everybody's trying to be ZZ Top, but 40 years too late. I don't get it. All right, so it says here, this is from Reuters. Iran... Hey, I said it the right way like 4 times in a row now. I'm going to give myself a gold star, except I have no gold stars to give to myself. Plus, me sitting here putting a gold star on my own forehead, there's something kind of masturbatory about that. It says, Iran reveals missile, shows off underground factory. Dateline Dubai. This is courtesy of Reuters. Iran's Revolutionary Guards inaugurated a surface-to-surface ballistic missile with a range of 1,000 kilometers, or 621 miles. The semi-official Fars news, or Fars, how would you say that? Is that short for Farsi? It's F-A-R-S. We'll call it Fars, because I feel pronouncing it farce, I feel disrespectful, like I'm calling their news a farce. Maybe it is a farce. I don't know. We have news agencies here that are farcical. We'll go with Fars. The Fars news agency reported today, like I said, this is breaking news, my friends. Ignoring demands, this is poorly written. Reuters needs a proofreader. It literally says here, ignoring demands, Western demands that Tehran halt its missile system. But you know what they mean. Fars published pictures of an underground missile factory called Underground City, saying the Dezful, that's the name of the missile apparently, Dezful, the Dezful missile was a version of the Zolfaghar, I don't know how to say these words. I wish everything could just be an American. Wouldn't that be easier? And more patriotic. The Zolfaghar missile that has a 700-kilometer range and a 450 kilograms or 992-pound warhead. That sounds very heavy. Iran says it has missiles with a range up to 2,000 kilometers, which puts Israel and U.S. military bases in the region within reach. All right. By the way, that Dezful missile, wasn't that those missiles in Cuba that had to be dismantled at the end of the Cuban Missile Crisis? Weren't those called Dezful because they were named after Desi Arnaz or something? That might be my worst joke so far this week. That's even worse than Scumpy's joke from yesterday. The EU, I love you, Scumpy. You know I'm kidding. The EU has stepped up criticism of Iran's ballistic missiles program, while the bloc remains committed to the 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and major powers. A 2015 UN resolution that enshrines the nuclear deal called upon Iran to refrain for up to 8 years from work on ballistic missiles designed to deliver nuclear weapons. Some states argue that the language does not make it obligatory, which makes it pointless if it's non-binding. President Donald Trump pulled out of the nuclear deal last year and reimposed sanctions on Iran. The EU has been trying to save the nuclear accord, which I think would be wise. And I did not agree. I mean, you know, some of the things that Trump has talked about doing in the Middle East, I'm with him on, you know, like drawing down troops in Afghanistan and Syria, although that may now be dead in the water. Oh, hello to Heidi Hamer, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. But I don't like the pulling out of the nuclear deal with Iran. Now, the deal still exists, though. It's not like Trump was always talking about, well, we're going to kill the deal. It's a bad deal. Well, the deal still exists. We're just no longer a part of it. But the EU has tried to maintain that, and Iran has been, from what I understand, sticking to the terms of the deal. But I'm concerned about this. And then while we're at it, so Russia, always looming in the background, or the foreground, really. And this is also from Reuters from today. Russia says that we would be open to U.S. proposals for a new nuclear pact, because the other thing the Trump administration has done is pulling out of the decades-old INF treaty, which is really worrisome. But then again, you know, if that gets very complicated, Trump might not be wrong on that. If the Russians are just flagrantly violating the treaty, I mean, from what I understand, and I'm no expert on it, but it sounds like they were sort of complying with the treaty, but not 100%. And we were kind of letting it slide. The fact that they weren't in full compliance, because, you know, one of the things that Obama tried to do is really kind of, ratchet down on the number of nuclear weapons in the world. I mean, that was something that he tried to do. I don't know how far he really got. And then I worry about all this rhetoric coming out of the Trump administration and then pulling out of the INF. But it's weird. Anything with Russia is weird because it's like, in theory, Putin's his BFF, right? But, I mean, I don't know. It all gets very tangled. But this is good news if this is true. So if Russia is saying that they're open to U.S. proposals for a new nuclear pact, and then we get a new nuclear pact that is stricter, and Russia stops developing new nukes, they've already got this hypersonic weapon, which is actually very, very scary. By the way, I know there's a whole, there's a whole swath of people out there who, whenever this subject comes up, they act like, what's the problem? What are you worried about? Russia, they're this very small country with a very small economy. They don't have any real, there was the incursion into Ukraine during the Obama administration and whatnot, but they don't have any real power in the world beyond that. And they, they're obviously when the Soviet Union came apart, they were economically downsized, and the whole thing kind of came apart. It's not the threat that it was during the Cold War. There are a lot of people across the ideological spectrum who have that attitude, and I don't get it. I don't get it. We're talking about a country that you can say all you want to. Oh, look at Russia. They're a shell of who they once were, and Putin desperately wants them to be a major global player again, but they're just not. And you can talk that all you want to. But you're still talking about the only country in the entire world that still now, today, in this moment, has the capability to incinerate the United States in less time than it takes to have a pizza delivered. Pizza. So, come on. I don't mean to seem alarmist, and I appreciate those of you who want to talk me down, but there is still a threat. Dick Cheney, I remember, and I don't give Dick Cheney credit for much because I think he's done far more harm than good in the world. But I remember when back in 2000, the Bush administration, the George W. Bush administration was about to take hold. It was right before the inauguration, and Dick Cheney was on Nightline with Ted Koppel. And Dick Cheney said something that nobody else had really been saying for a long time, out loud anyway, in public. And people don't say now very often either. But Dick Cheney said to Ted Koppel on that show, one thing we must never forget when dealing with the Russians, the former Soviet Union, regardless of any temptation to not take them seriously anymore, they still have the capability, no matter what we want to believe, they still have the capability to destroy the United States. And that is something that we must never forget. And we have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's the Karen Dosh.
The Karen Dosh. You're going to tell me I'm wrong. I know this because I know Karen Dosh. I know how you feel about this.
Subject for about 15 to 20 minutes.
What's that?
And I will arrive, and a Russian will call in to your show.
Oh, we're gonna have a Russian calling in.
Oh yeah.
How is it that you're able?
Wait, sounds like Melania Trump.
Wait, hang on, Karen Dash. How is it that you're able to arrange a Russian to call in? This sounds like collusion to me.
There is no collusion. Did you hear the head of the Senate whatchamacallit committee?
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Well, that's a big relief, sir.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Why don't you talk about something else, like some of these nuts or wrestling or stuff? Then the adults will take over.
You want me to talk about a raffle?
I once was part of the apparatus.
Oh.
Well, that was before the accident.
Yeah. It's hard to hear you, by the way. It sounds like it sounds like you put your phone on speaker and then went into another room and you're like
Yeah, no, I'm
that's better.
Testing out the new toilet that Glenn RJ gifted the city with. Oh, it's a doozy.
So you're speaking to us through a toilet. I didn't know we had this technology.
No, I'm speaking to you while using a toilet.
Oh, very nice. Well, that's
What is le pissoir?
Little bit of TMI, but after what we learned about you and Nancy Pelosi, I guess nothing shocks me.
What? What about Nancy?
Oh, that's right. That was someone else.
Shut up.
That wasn't the Karen
now
Dash.
You talk about wrestling or ragam. What is the thing the Yetis are good at, like the Japanese? Those little folding like dollar bills up into like crabs.
Origami? Yetis don't.
Walruses or something.
Yetis do not waste our time on that nonsense.
Or is that something you eat?
Very hurtful and cruel.
Oh man, that was good.
What?
Oh
whoa, careful there.
I'm going to be more hurtful when I get in there, Yeti.
Oh,
I've got the shock collar.
This is terrifying.
Use on the Stalin dog.
You just make sure you wipe. Hello to Chris Rose in the Facebook live chat.
It wasn't that type of thing. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. And hopefully use some hand sanitizer there, Karen Dash. All right, so Reuters says this. Russia would be prepared to consider new proposals from the United States to replace a suspended Cold War-era nuclear pact with a broader treaty that includes more countries. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov? I don't know. Ryabkov? I'm just going to call him Sergei. I don't mean Sergei. I mean, Sergei is his first name, Sergei. I'm just going to call him Serge from now on. So for the remainder of this article, as I read this, if you hear me refer to Serge, that's who I'm referring to, because I like that. I like the name Serge. Russia suspended the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces INF Treaty at the weekend after Washington announced it would withdraw in 6 months unless Russia ends what it says are violations of the pact, allegations rejected by Moscow. So in other words, Russia said, well, if you're going to withdraw in 6 months, we're going to go ahead and just withdraw now. It's sort of like a you can't fire me, I quit type of scenario, if you ask me. The 1987 treaty eliminated the medium-range missile arsenals of the world's two biggest nuclear powers, but leaves other countries free to produce and deploy them. U.S. President Donald Trump said last week he would like to hold talks aimed at creating a new arms control treaty. Serge said, quote, "We, of course, saw the reference in President Trump's statement to the possibility of a new treaty that could be signed in a beautiful room and that this treaty should also include other countries and its participants. We look forward to this proposal being made concrete and put on paper or by other means," unquote. I don't know. Is he trying to be sarcastic with the whole beautiful room and What is this? Serge said the United States has not sent Moscow any concrete proposals for a new pact. Well, I mean, I'm sure that once we have something, it will be sent to them and signed in a beautiful room. Perhaps it won't be concrete. Perhaps it will be a proposal made of steel slats. See-through, of course. And then this one more thing on this, also from Reuters. This is a piece by Andrew Osborne. Just quickly, he writes, for Putin, economic and political reality dampen appetite for an arms race. This is reassuring because obviously we don't want, I mean, I think we can safely say we're certainly in another Cold War. It does seem to be, but we don't want another arms race like we saw during the 1980s prior to the INF. Under Reagan, we really kind of ratcheted up. I mean, some would say that that's part of what bankrupted the Soviet Union. Some would say, no, that was Afghanistan. Being in Afghanistan that bankrupted the Soviet Union. Some would say this, some would say that. But there's all kinds of theories. But there was quite the arms buildup. And then finally, Reagan and Gorbachev hammered out a deal that is now being undone. Trump may, in the end, turn out to be right about this. I'm going to keep an open mind on this, even though I'm worried. I'm very worried. Okay, so it says here, again, from Reuters, with his ratings down and state funds needed to hedge against new Western sanctions and raise living standards, Russian President Vladimir Putin cannot afford to get sucked into a costly nuclear arms race with the U.S. Alleging Russian violations, Washington said this month it was suspending its obligations under the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Okay, we know about that. This raises the prospect of a new arms race between Washington and Moscow, which denies flouting the treaty. Putin responded by saying Russia would mirror the U.S. moves by suspending its own obligations and quitting the pact. But Putin, who has sometimes used bellicose rhetoric to talk up Russia's standoff with the West and to rally Russians around the flag, did not up the ante. He did not announce new missile deployments, said money for new systems must come from existing budget funds, and declared that Moscow would not deploy new land-based missiles in Europe or elsewhere unless Washington did so first. Quote, we must not and will not let ourselves be drawn into an expensive arms race, unquote, Putin told Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. What's with all the Sergeys? I'm getting the impression that Sergei is like John or Mike, in the United States. It's a very common name. His statement was born of necessity, harsh economic and political realities, and memories of how the cost of the Cold War arms race contributed to the Soviet Union's demise means Putin's options are limited, a situation that may curb his appetite for expensive escalation in the future. That does not mean Putin is still spending heavily on the military. He unveiled an array of new weapons last year, which he billed as world-beating. That's not a nice phrase to think about him using. Including a hypersonic missile, which, if I understand it correctly, hypersonic meaning it travels faster than the speed of sound. So we'll all be dead before we even hear it coming. I'd rather not hear it coming or see it coming personally. I'd rather it, a laser weapon. Ooh, what is he working with, Dr. Evil? An underwater nuclear drone and a nuclear-powered cruise missile. All of these things sound horrifying. Let's see. We have another call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Cheese and Crow, Ikavai, and Ananda Savior. Are you still going at it? Now you're talking about hypersonic missiles?
Please don't take the name of Jeezum Crow in vain. That's very offensive, sir.
Holy smoke. I mean, talk about, I have to go through that, for the book club, that book by the Squirt, which is awful enough. Now I got to deal with you as a nervous Nelly.
I am. I'm a nervous Nelly.
You're like an old babushka. Well, a babushka is old.
At any moment, we could all be killed in a mushroom cloud. At any moment.
I'm going to bring a shawl in, and, you can put on a little, hoodie like they wear.
That sounds very calming. All right.
Geez, oh, kid,
Wow.
You started out promising on the show as, some women wrestling.
Oh, you like that, huh? You like Nancy Pelosi wrestling?
I wonder if we can get Rocky over to, she is got to get in shape for the boxing match.
Oh, that's very exciting.
I better put my phone down.
Okay. Well,
I order you to not talk about hypersonic missiles.
Yes. All right. We'll see you when you get here, comrade. By the way, did anyone notice Trump used the word comrade in his speech the other night? That was weird. I just remembered that just now. I was going to comment on that. I haven't heard anyone else comment on that, but Trump used the word comrade. And that was interesting. So anyway, Putin's ability to bankroll a full-on arms race is limited. Quote, we need to keep in mind that the question of an arms race that could cut us into pieces is entirely realistic, unquote, said another Sergei Dubinin. How many Sergeys are in this article? We're up to 3. Sergei Dubinin, former governor of Russia's central bank, told Russia's RBC TV channel before Washington announced its exit. He's very visual, too, with the, very vivid with the imagery there. We need to keep in mind that the question of an arms race could cut us into pieces. Oh, my goodness. Cut Russia into pieces. This is my last arms race. He said the United States was trying to repeat its successful... By the way, I played a Papa Roach song to open the show today. That's why that's in my mind, that Last Resort by Papa Roach, which was their first big hit. I did my little impromptu song parody of that so poorly that most of you probably none of you even got the reference, which is 100% my own fault. He said the United States was trying to repeat its successful Cold War strategy of pushing Moscow into an arms race it could not afford, and that Russia would be ill-advised to try to attain parity and needed a smart response instead. By the way, that was also, interestingly enough, from what I've read, Osama bin Laden's strategy for destroying the United States was to suck us into wars and bankrupt us. But we just print more money to buy more stuff and, kill more people, buy more drones, whatever. So it really doesn't matter, apparently. Memories of empty supermarket shelves in the run-up to the 1991 Soviet collapse still haunt many older Russians, as the then Soviet Union directed huge cash flows to the military-industrial complex to try to keep up with the U.S. while neglecting the consumer economy. Finally, somebody who's not named Sergei. Viktor Litovkin, a military expert, told the Russian army's Zved, how do I say that? There's too many consonants and not enough vowels. Zvezda TV channel. Quote, they, the Americans, recall that the Soviet Union collapsed in part because it tried to keep up with the U.S. when it came to who produced more missiles, nuclear submarines, and tanks. They are trying to do the same thing today, unquote. So the article goes on to get into some detail about how much it would cost the Russians. We don't need to get into all that. But, hey, that's reassuring. The Russians don't want to necessarily get into a new arms race. That's good. Like I said, Trump's instinct, in the end, may turn out to be correct on that. Trump or perhaps John Bolton, perhaps it was his instinct, or perhaps that of John Bolton's very strange and frightening mustache, Steve. And for those of you who might be new to the show who aren't aware of this, this is only a theory, but I believe that Steve is the name of John Bolton's mustache, and that Steve is actually the one in control, and that he controls the actions and words of John Bolton, and that John Bolton is probably actually a hippie, but Steve is the one in control. That's why, when that report came out that Trump couldn't get John Bolton's name right and keeps calling him Steve, it's because he's actually addressing the mustache. Because Trump is a stable genius with a very large brain, and he figures things out the rest of us can't quite fathom.
Meet me at the radio station. We're going to body slam that Yeti.
You're going to body slam? How do you body slam a Yeti? You're out of your ever-loving mind. You're crazy. You're out of your mind. This is dead weight right here. You think you're going to body slam me? My good. I have been threatened on the air. This is very, very, very terrifying. Hello to Gia in the Facebook live chat. She says, hey to you, Gia. I'll give you 3 heys. I'll give you a hey. Let's see. Our acting Attorney General, Matt Whitaker, says he won't testify unless Democrats withdraw the subpoena threat. This is kind of interesting. TheHill.com reports Whitaker says he won't testify unless, because he's been threatened to be subpoenaed unless he, he's not going to volunteer to go unless they might as well withdraw the subpoena threat, right? Because then if they withdraw the subpoena threat and he says, okay, I'm not going, even though he said, in theory, in good faith, that he would go if they withdraw the threat, then they might as well withdraw the threat. And then if he says, well, I'm not going anyway, they can just go ahead and subpoena him. Acting AG Matt Whitaker is threatening to not testify before the House Judiciary Committee on Friday after Democrats on the panel voted to authorize the use of a subpoena against him if he did not attend or refuse to answer certain questions. Whitaker said in a statement Thursday that the Democratic-led panel, quote, has deviated from historic practice and protocol and taken the unnecessary and premature step of authorizing a subpoena to me, the acting Attorney General, even though I had agreed to voluntarily appear. Such unprecedented action. Oh, there's this whole big long statement here. You know what? Let me start over. I'm going to start over because I know how much you all love. Yes, you know what's coming. it's time for, once again, a dramatic reading. Here it is, my dramatic reading of Matt Whitaker's statement on this. The Democratic-led panel has deviated from historic practice and protocol and taken the unnecessary and premature step of authorizing a subpoena to me, the acting Attorney General, even though I had agreed to volunteer in person. Such unprecedented action breaches our prior agreement and circumvents the constitutionally required accommodation process. Based upon today's action, it is apparent that the committee's true intention is not to discuss the great work of the Department of Justice, but to create a public spectacle. Political theater is not the purpose of an oversight hearing, and I will not allow this to be the case. Consistent with long-standing practice, I remain willing to appear to testify tomorrow, provided that the chairman assures me that the committee will not issue a subpoena today or tomorrow, and that the committee will engage in good faith negotiations before taking such a step down the road, unquote. Whitaker gave Democrats a deadline of 6 p.m. today to respond about their threat to subpoena him. The statement came hours after the Judiciary Committee voted 23-13 along party lines to authorize a subpoena for Whitaker if he did not appear before the panel or declined to answer certain questions. So we'll see. Gia says, spoken word with MCU. I like it. Yes, well, I feel that the words of our acting Attorney General, they should carry a certain weight and gravitas that only my dramatic interpretation of those words can provide. So there you go. I mean, and he's a very distinguished gentleman. He used to run one of those scam inventing companies and got into a lot of trouble. We actually have an acting Attorney General that has been that has been sued for fraud. Do y'all realize that? This guy's been in trouble for fraud via some crappy infomercials that he used to, participate in. That's our acting Attorney General. Isn't that just, in some ways, it's kind of appropriate, I guess, for the times we live in, right? In the Trump era, we have a reality TV star for a president. We might as well have an infomercial guy who ran a scam company for an attorney general, right? Acting Attorney General. Not for much longer. William Barr, I'm sure, will be approved. It looks like he's going to be. But what a fascinating time to live. It really is. We have something very, very pressing to get to. It's only quarter of. We got plenty of time. This is from, if I can get it to open here. This is from my favorite website, and hopefully yours, rightwingwatch.org. Oh, but this computer is running slow. Maybe I need to switch to the other network here. I can get to it on the other computer, so it's not even a big deal. Oh, no, I think this will work. No, that's running really slow. Yeah, maybe I will switch to the other network. We'll see if that does something. But meanwhile, I will go to this other computer here because people have been talking about and complaining about the halftime show at the Super Bowl, or the Superb Owl, as I've heard it referred to. And, Maroon 5 was the, I didn't watch it. Maroon 5 was the guest. Is that what do you call them a musical guest? They were the entertainment, if you will. I'm not myself a Maroon 5 fan, but I'm not a hater either. I certainly respect what they've accomplished. They've got a lot of hits. I can't think of a single Maroon 5 song that I personally enjoy or would recommend. But that's me. But I don't hate on anybody else for their own musical taste, and I certainly don't begrudge them the success that they've had. And by all accounts, Adam Levine is a very very hardworking gentleman. So it's all good. But people have been really kind of hating on Maroon 5 and have been very very critical of their performance at the Super Bowl. I did find a video online of the performance, and I watched just a little bit of it just to kind of get an idea of what the what the whole problem was. And I still don't really know. I mean, again, it's not something that I enjoy, but but I mean, it didn't seem bad or anything. I guess some people were mad that it got weird too, in that the criticism of it got weird, in that I guess some people were mad about Adam Levine taking his shirt off and saying that it was some sort of it was somehow hypocritical that people be okay with that, but they're not somehow they're not okay with Janet Jackson's breasts being exposed that year. So I found this story on rightwingwatch.org, and I did not know about this angle of the problem with the Super Bowl performance of Maroon 5. But it goes deeper than I thought. I thought people just didn't like it, or people didn't like the way it sounded or whatnot, or didn't like Levine's performance with the being shirtless and whatnot, or some of the guest stars. But according to Corey Daniel, the Super Bowl halftime show was a ritual to Moloch. This is shocking to me. Moloch, of course, we discussed Moloch on the show recently when Q had called in one day wanting to do something about, the Bilderbergs and all these groups that go to Bohemian Grove once a year to talk about, how they're running the world. So Moloch is, of course, that giant owl, the giant wooden owl that they all worship, apparently. And according to Corey Daniel, the Super Bowl halftime show was a ritual to Moloch. So I didn't know that perhaps Maroon 5 is going to be also performing at Bohemian Grove this year. But let's listen to some audio. It's just about 2 minutes long of Corey Daniel explaining this. This is an angle to the Super Bowl halftime show that I would not have expected. Let's hear what he has to say.
There was a lot of symbolism there. It was very low key, though. I mean, it was more of an advanced spell. For starters, it wasn't over the top at first. It was foundational, if I can use that word. I know I use it a lot, but it was truly foundational, higher magic going on. You had the halftime show opens up with the spinning Pepsi logo. And if you research the spinning Pepsi logo, you'll find that it contains higher Pythagorean mathematics. That it was designed. They call it the Pepsi. What do they call it? I said yesterday. The Pepsi globe is what they call it now. Okay. But it contains mathematics, and mathematics swirling. It's magic. It's sorcery, right? And then it goes to the big M on stage. The big M. And the M, of course, is for Masons. It's for Moloch. The M is a 3 put sideways because it was a stylized, tribalized M. They were in Atlanta. The Super Bowl took place on the 3rd, right? Outside are 3 pyramids.
Ooh.
Right.
Right.
Where are we at here? In the beginning, it opened up with 3 meteors coming down. Boom, boom, boom. So it's 3. The M itself has 3 peaks on it. So 3 was being highlighted, and 3, of course, was the Blue Lodge of Masonry.
Masonry,
it's the Apprentice, the Fellow Craft Mason, and the Master Mason. So right off the bat, I'm seeing a lot of 3s there. But then I saw as the crowd, the kids, and they were kids, rushed the field. They usher them in there. They pick who's going to be in there. They were between the 2 M's, right? It went like that, and they were between the 2 M's, and the M's lit up like fire. And it burned, and the whole stage was doused in red. It was this blood red color the whole time. And then there's a shot on TV where the kids' hands are going back and forth while he's singing, and they're blood red in color because they had the blood red lights coming up on those hands out of the blackness. And I'm thinking, this is obviously, we know halftime Super Bowl are all rituals, but I see an altar. The M is the altar, and then I start making my notes. And it looked to me like it was Moloch.
Wow.
Moloch. Offering your children to Moloch.
Yes, offering our children to Moloch. That's one of the many reasons, by the way, that I never wanted to have children of my own. I'm concerned about them being offered to Moloch, and I don't want to help the New World Order in any way. So Do you agree? Who are you today, by the
John
way?
C. Hopwood.
You're John C. Hopwood, yes.
I agree totally. In
Yes.
fact, my new screenplay, which I got to get done lickety-split for because of scheduling things.
Yes, of course.
Deals with just that, the sacrifice of America's children to Moloch
Oh, my goodness.
by the industrial oligarchy, the
See,
apparatchiks.
See, I didn't know
that
about
we call
any of this.
politicians, but they're just businessmen.
I didn't know about any of this. I feel like we've really learned something today.
I can't
And if you don't know, now you know.
I can't understand why that somebody like Scumpy says that Donald Trump is a businessman, and but besides the fact that he's not a very good one, and he doesn't realize that all
How dare you.
politicians are business people.
He's a stable genius with a very large
Very,
brain.
very large brain. He said, Donald Trump, they don't know what to do. Never happened.
See?
He has a very, very large necktie, and I'm still mad that I gave him my Donald Trump necktie, which I inherited from my father, which is practically the only thing I inherited from him. Some bills. To Vermin Supreme, who you supported.
And I will support again. I intend to vote for him again in the first in the nation primary right here in New Hampshire. I'm sure he'll be on the ballot, and I will proudly cast my vote for the man with the boot on his head. I think he's our only hope.
Rather than the man with the boot up his.
Who's that?
Well, I'm thinking of running for president, Matt.
With a boot up your.
Well, rhetorically speaking.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Well, no, I'd vote for you. I mean, but will you be on the ballot, or will it be like a write-in thing?
No, here's the thing. I already sent a message up to Bill Gardner and the Secretary of State's office. If you're an indigent person, you can run and waive the $1,000 fee.
Oh, right.
I asked him, what's indigent?
Well, you are indigenous, right? You're Native American?
As probably as much as Pocahontas, Warren.
Oh, there you go.
Apologized, I hear, the day of the State of the Union address.
She apologized for what?
For claiming for 8 years she was Native American.
Wow, she just keeps.
What happened to the processor here?
What do you mean?
All I hear is sibilance.
You sound processed to me. Yeah, I think you sound totally processed. You sound like processed cheese.
Did you see the F-35 warbirds going by?
I mean that in a nice way. I did not. Are we at war?
And they are part of the Bernie Sanders Le Force de Frappe.
Oh, the Le Force de Frappe.
Do you know what Force de Frappe is?
I assume it has something to do with fraps, and which sounds delicious.
That's the French nuclear arsenal.
Oh, the French have nukes. That's very terrifying.
Force de Frappe.
Well, we should be nice to them. I hope at the White House they at some point changed it back to French fries from freedom fries. Remember when
I thought they were Liberty fries.
during W they became freedom fries
it
because
was Liberty salad. Right?
Yes,
but that
Liberty
was World War
salad
I. No
and
coleslaw.
freedom fries. That's right. Yes. So,
in the struggle to get over here.
Why was it a struggle?
I have my pillow. It's a nice pillow, isn't it?
Yeah. What's with the pillow?
My back hurts.
Oh. Okay.
I think I got dry mouth now.
Yeah. Oh,
They give you these drugs, and they don't know what they're going to do to you. Well, this one's making me, go to the bathroom a lot.
Oh, okay.
Numero uno.
Okay. Why is that relevant?
Shocked. I mean, since you're not human, I've seen plenty here that would shock anybody with,
I'm almost
proper
human.
lineage.
Yeah.
The horror I feel when I realized, after becoming a minister of the Church of the Subgenius, that the creators of the Church of the Subgenius claim they are descended from the Yeti.
Well, they can claim whatever they want.
1T, Matt.
Then they're not legit.
1T.
They're simply not legitimate. Which is not to say that they're illegitimate. There's no such thing as an illegitimate person, but no.
Where's the Devishka?
Where's what?
She's supposed to call in.
Well, I don't know. That's your deal. You said you were telling her to call in, and the phone remains uncalled.
She said she was going to get some coffee.
Yeah, well, how long does it take her to get coffee?
It's California, Matt. There's a coffee joint on every corner.
I thought she was in Russia.
Russia?
Mm.
Why would she be in Russia?
It's interesting that you hang around with these Russians. Did you notice Trump used the word comrade in his speech the other night? I forget who he was referring to.
Comrade.
But he did use the word comrade. And I thought that was very interesting. We do have a call. Perhaps this is her. Hello, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hi, Matt. This is Victoria. How are you?
Well, hello, Victoria. It's been a very long time since we've spoken.
A long time.
Your voice hasn't changed. Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, I'm a little concerned talking to Russians. I'm afraid I'm going to get swept up in this Russia probe.
I know the Russia is even taking over your radio station. That's scary.
Yes. Ooh. When I came here today, there were some KGB agents outside. Or is that even still a thing? Or some GRU agents?
No, that's the military.
Or some people with
federal. What's it called? The state federal FSB or something.
Actually, they were just people wearing those big funny hats, but I just figured they were Russians.
The foil hats?
No, they were they look like the mink coats, but they're hats.
Well, the Squirts show's later tonight.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
but that's foil hat time.
Right. He's proud. Do you think he's colluded with Russians?
I don't think
Squirt.
No, maybe.
But he'd certainly condone it
if he's told to. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Which he has been, I'm sure.
More dealing with him like this latest tome that he thinks is going to win the Pulitzer Prize. Oh. I really do believe there
is it collusion even possible in globalized world?
Yes. Collusion, conspiracy is the easiest thing to prove in a court. That's why everybody gets busted and they get you for conspiracy.
Yes.
They tried people, dissidents in America. Cantonville 8, Chicago 8. 8 seems to have been a number. Oh, maybe that's because of Moloch.
Right,
No,
probably.
that's 3, right? I can't do
there's
that anymore.
There's 3 and
53 years of typing.
That was weird. You literally did it and then said, I can't do that anymore. And then you suddenly couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's because you told yourself you couldn't do it, mister.
Oh, is that? You know that Matt's a mesmerist.
I am a mesmerist.
Vika? V?
I am mesmerized already.
See? Yes.
I was. I came in here. I was ready to body slam him.
Hypnotized and mesmerized.
Yes.
Roppy was going to help, but, she's got to get in shape for the battle with the Terrapin.
Oh, what kind of battle? You want to get in the mud? Or the Jello?
He's very sly, Victoria. He knows many things.
It's because I'm a mesmerist.
He'd have been good in the intelligence community.
I would have. Or perhaps I am, and you just don't realize.
But he's a babushka when it comes to Russia. He's terrified of the Russians.
I thought it was babushka. It's babushka. It's, yes.
Well, what is it?
Babushka.
Babushka.
We were both kind of right and kind of wrong.
Well, I'm always wrong. I tried to use some French with her a few days ago.
And
she laughed
did you?
at that.
A little TMI there.
That's interesting. With me, you're always right, John. How is it possible?
Ooh. We do use the word suchka on the program because nobody knows what it means.
Oh.
I think didn't you have Melania on the other day?
Yeah, the thing is...
La plage.
The odd thing is when Melania calls, sometimes it's difficult to understand what Melania is saying.
Well, she is from Lower Slobovia.
Right, but she is also fluent in English, so it's very strange.
She is?
I believe so, yes.
I've never heard her speak, except on the show.
Oh, no, she speaks when she's doing her anti-bullying campaign.
You mean like Glenn R.J. sings?
Yes, exactly like that.
Yeah, it's dubbed.
Oh, you think it's dubbed in?
I was here the first day she called in.
Yeah.
Now she calls in when I'm not here and insults me.
Right.
She says, Melania says that, who's the little guy, the chubby guy, looks like a chipmunk with crab apples in his cheeks.
She did say that. That was very cruel.
But I'm not hurt by it.
I would have been.
Well, Eastern Europeans not very sensitive.
No, they aren't.
You can forgive her for that.
She speaks Russian.
Well, wait a minute. She speaks Russian?
Melania speaks Russian.
I'm just putting this all together in my mind. Do you think Robert Mueller realizes that? Someone should tell him.
Well, there was no collusion.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Thank goodness.
Hey! Are you guys part of this witch hunt?
Well, you know what? They really are witches, and they do have to be hunted.
They do,
Although when
yes.
they come after me, you have I just put a spell on them.
There's currently, I think, more than 30 people who've been indicted in this witch hunt.
3 times 10, Moloch.
That's right. It is Moloch. You're right. I think Moloch himself has been indicted, but he won't stand for that because he is a giant wooden owl.
Owls. I have That owl that I tried to, establish here, but we never, never took. That's on my nightstand. That it glows red at night.
That is terrifying.
Why, are you afraid of owls? You know that he's a Sasquatch, a Yeti? You have, when
Not
you
a
were...
Sasquatch.
Well,
That's
Victoria used to live in...
Two different things. That's deeply offensive.
You were
How
on
dare
the Junior Olympic ski team, and you're out in Siberia and Kamchatka. They have all sorts of weird things there. Yetis, abominable snowmen, which are, whiter than this brunette over here.
Yeah.
They had the big explosions and the UFOs. And was it true, Victoria, that like 10 kids disappeared in Siberia? People say it's the aliens. I just think it's like KGB or something.
Oh.
I'm surprised we even get news from Siberia, honestly.
Have you read Pravda the
I mean,
last...
Russia have been living in, what do you call that, fake news for so long that for us it's kind of like normal.
It's interesting you say that because I hear Trump use the phrase fake news a lot. I wonder if that's some sort of signal to the prime minister. Does he call himself the prime minister or the president, Putin?
Who, the Putin?
Yeah.
He's president again, isn't he?
He's
president.
Right.
He's a czar.
But is that guy, is the other guy there, Medved, is he still around too?
He's around. He's a prime minister.
He's the prime minister still, okay. But he's an empty suit, right? It's Putin who really runs the show?
Well, he was
He's a puppet, but you know what? If Putin, something happens to him, he would be a good puppet for transition.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
So if you look at it long term, he can be actually used as a mild transition to something less violent or something more stupid like in Venezuela.
Oh, okay. Well.
You know, that Venezuelan president was a bus driver for Maduro or whatever before that. And then, every revolution, every kind of like taking down the government usually brings worse government. Well, at least in our history, in Russian history.
In ours too, right? Lately.
Yes. So, John C. Hopwood, you did you have something specific you wanted to discuss with Victoria on the air today?
I think you're foolish and gloopy.
Who, me?
You should be worrying more about China. China can hit the United States with its nukes. But no, we don't talk about that because they have a cat's paw, North Korea, to take the attention away. And all this stuff about hypersonic missiles is so much,
This is what you wanted to discuss with Victoria?
That's all from SDI, Star Wars.
Wait. Didn't one of your presidents said that America is going to take down America, really?
What?
Somebody
Say what?
From your leaders said something about fall of America is going to be done by Americans.
Oh, geez,
Americans can only take down America.
And
I think that's probably true.
We seem to be doing a good job of it.
Yeah, you've done very well so far.
Well, there are those who say this is Rome.
Elizabeth Ropp sent me this. I guess it's a warning to you.
Wait, hang on. Hold that up again. I just put the camera on you. I can't tell what it is from here, though.
It is Elizabeth Ropp for probate. In other words, if you don't, fly right and get the monkey off your back, she's going to put you to where you need probate.
I don't understand any of this. I don't.
Suddenly the wrestling fan doesn't know about wrestling anymore.
What monkey on my back?
Where is the monkey?
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
It's flying monkey, maybe.
It probably flew away.
One of the Squirt's many personas.
It's just as well.
What happened to the monkey that
terrified.
was on Joe St. Lawrence's back?
No, I actually don't know. I don't know where that picture ended up. Maybe it's in the office. I don't know.
Oh, my.
Maybe Ryan took it back? I don't know.
Oh, jeez. I got to be careful what pictures I show.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
do you have nude photos on your phone?
No.
Oh, okay.
They're of graveyards.
Right.
Just say hello. Say hello. Say hello.
Oh, that's Rousseau.
Rousseau?
Rousseau.
Yeah, Rousseau is here saying hello to a man on the street.
Now, who is Rousseau?
Carmel is by the sea. California is very dog friendly.
Oh,
look
yes. Okay.
Rousseau is a Stalin dog.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Oh, if we only had him here. He saw you, the Yeti.
That's right.
Victoria, are you there? We're running out of conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I am here. I'm here multitasking. You know, they say the females can multitask. So I guess I'm not doing a good job.
That's quite all right.
Do you have the... Oh.
Look, I have this beautiful animal with me, and I'm in the middle of Carmel. It's hard not to get attention.
Well, of course, yes.
Oh, is it 5 o'clock? And
yeah, it's a little bit after 5, so we'll be taking a break pretty soon anyway. But
I need you to help me to tag team this nervous Nelly, Victoria.
I am. I'm very nervous. I am a nervous Nelly.
And did you send me the shock collar yet?
Ooh. That sounds like a conversation for my other show, Matt Connarton Unsheathed.
Right, for like after 9, right?
Yes, way after.
Oh boy, look at that.
Yes,
okay,
indeed.
Maybe I can call in after 9. Then.
There you go. Actually, that show we start that about 3 a.m. So around there. So that'd be a little earlier your time.
Well, are we going to have any intelligent conversation at 5 about Russia?
Well, it's already after 5.
There's nothing intelligent about Russia at this moment, so that's hard to have that conversation.
Oh, there you go.
The Yeti likes to play. Matt likes to play a song at 5 o'clock.
Yes. So Victoria, we'll let you go for now. But
we were going to talk about Israel, weren't we, and Putin?
Well, we can do that. Well, why don't we go ahead and do that? I mean, it felt like things were kind of trying to keep things moving. Things were kind of sputtering out. So
yeah. Let me talk. I'll talk to her privately. You know, Russians need a lot of discipline, don't you?
I understand. All right, Victoria. Thank you.
Nice to hear your voice, Matt.
All right,
take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
Bye,
sounds good. Bye. All right, so that was Victoria, and we're going to play this track. This is called Blacklight Invasion. This is from the band Sepsis. They're going to be in the studio with me tomorrow, but we'll go ahead and play this now, kind of give you a little bit of a preview, and then we'll be back with more Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon. We're live on WMNH 95.3 FM.
We have a tweet from the President of the United States that Sam's going to
Two, in fact.
Two?
Yeah. All right, so the first one, 26 minutes ago. So now Congressman Adam Schiff announces, after having found zero Russian collusion, that he is going to be looking at every aspect of my life, both financial and personal, even though there is no reason to be doing so. Never happened before, exclamation point, unlimited presidential harassment, ... And now picking up the thought, the Dems and their committees are going nuts. The Republicans never did this to President Obama.
Okay, let's just stop right there.
What time?
Let's just stop right there.
This being tweeted at
where was he?
6:26 a.m.
This Benghazi investigation.
Yeah,
How long did the Benghazi investigation go on? And they literally kept it going until Hillary Clinton's campaign
for years.
was over.
And he's not obsessing or anything.
4 years.
At 6:26
they
in the morning.
investigated. Okay, so.
But here comes the real gem. I hear other committee heads will do the same thing, even stealing people who work at White House. I don't know. A continuation of witch hunt, exclamation.
How many people have been indicted now in the witch hunt? We up to 39, 40?
We're in the 30s, I believe, yeah.
We're at least in the 30s.
A good chunk of them Russian.
And in the witch...
Yeah.
I mean, in the witch hunt, he says Russian bloggers, which means that his campaign manager was a Russian blogger, which means that his pick for national security advisor was a Russian blogger,
long-time lawyer,
which means that his longtime lawyer must have been a Russian, that his long-term political consigliere, I guess, was the same, and you can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
So that's the president admitting that everybody around him are longtime Russian bloggers.
Wow.
Fascinating.
Okay, well, let's see what else happens before 7 in the morning. He's not obsessed. He's not concerned at all. He's not looping. Not looping. He's sitting in bed.
We are.
He's not watching.
Yeah. Speaking of the 80s,
not watching.
and Michael Jackson, we're the world.
He went away and he hung around and laundered money every night. And when I went out with him, the grand jury said things that weren't very nice. My boyfriend's crap and he's gonna be in trouble. Kayla, my boyfriend is the wire fraud to the charges, they are double. Kayla, my boyfriend's crap and spreading lies about a wheelchair too. Kayla, my boyfriend's a wheelchair you don't have to get out of to poo. Kayla, my boyfriend's crap. Yeah, my boyfriend's crap. Oh, my boyfriend wheelchair right now. My boyfriend's crap now. My boyfriend's crap.
Hey everybody, welcome. It's Matt Connarton Unleashed as we are well into hour number 2. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM, emanating from downtown Manchester, New Hampshire, streaming at WMNHradio.org. We're on channel 97 Comcast, and of course on Facebook via Facebook Live on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. I see William Savant in the Facebook Live chat. We are going to have, he's from, of course, the band Sepsis. We're going to have members of, he'll be here tomorrow, and of course, I believe his partner in the band is coming as well, and they'll be here, and we will talk tomorrow on the show. We'll play a little bit more music from them. Really looking forward to that. I love that track, Blacklight Invasion by Sepsis, that I played. And, of course, tomorrow we'll feature the newer single that's out as well. And I think this is Victoria calling back. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, Matt. This is Victoria.
Hey, Victoria. How have you been? It's been so long.
I know, it's been 5 minutes. Yeah, it's been great.
My favorite Russian. No, so John said you wanted to, you did have something specific that you wanted to discuss.
Well, my understanding that you're discussing the pulling out of the treaty.
Yeah, the INF, yeah.
Missile treaty with Russia, U.S.?
Yes. And I was kind of talking about that earlier, how apparently the Russians are signaling, from what I've been reading, that they're open to some sort of new agreement because Putin really doesn't want to get into another arms race and so forth. But they do allegedly have
Putin can get in another arms race. He has no finances for that.
Well, that's reassuring to hear. So basically they can't afford to allow this to happen.
My humble opinion about the whole situation, that this is a true political theater, and because Putin is really not interested after 20 years of being in power about the Russian politics internal, so he's really just playing globally. So I think the treaty doesn't make any more sense because it wasn't really about the nuclear missiles. It was just mid-range or something, and it made sense when there were two powers, global powers like Soviet Union and United States. But since we have emerging powers like India and Pakistan and Iran, it kind of doesn't make sense anymore to have that treaty because it's in some way limits the United States and Russia from developing whatever they need, while other countries are working, besides whatever Russia and Soviet and United States decided. So it seems like it's just a big noise from something that just died naturally.
Okay. What about, there was this, Putin was making these announcements about these hypersonic weapons and all that. I mean, is that, John...
Those are cartoons. Those are cartoons. They have no technical capability to do anything like that. Even the Superjet Sukhoi that the Russians built, they can't build them without imported parts.
Really? Okay. Well, this is all...
they're trying to leave the global, economy, everything, but they don't realize, that they're really isolating themselves. And the arm race, they're using that term from Soviet era. Russia cannot withstand arm race with the United States.
Yeah. No, well, that's good. Is it possible, I'm someone who's very critical of Trump, but is it possible that he's actually got the right instinct on this to say... pull out of the INF, or is he wrong and the Russians just aren't actually violating anything?
I think that he made a big noise from something that would just happen naturally.
Okay.
And I think he took advantage politically, and it was a smart move.
Yeah.
He just publicized that as a victory, which I think was happening. And they knew Russians were not following, and nobody knows what the state is in Russian military. So it's really hard to talk about it, not being professionals. But I think it just was really successfully used by Trump, the situation, with the whole pulling out, looking like he's the enemy of Putin, he's doing something against him, where it's not true because the Russians don't care about it.
Right. Oh, okay. No. Now, how much of a threat, because I talk on the show about how we still have to be very mindful of the Russians because they still have the nuclear capability to, kill all of us. I mean, am I wrong about that, or?
Well, they can create a great chaos, but we have to understand most of the families of Russian administration, they live in the West.
Yeah.
So if they're willing to sacrifice their families, then they can create havoc.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't see... Or just simple stupidity, some drunken general will press something, I don't know.
Right, yes. Well, yeah, which is always a risk. John doesn't seem to believe, by the way, that story about, I forget his name, the guy who, what was it, in 87, I think, in 1987, when he's sitting in a missile silo and he sees that there's an incoming missile from the United States, and He refuses to act on it because he doesn't sense that it's legitimate, that there's been a malfunction. And
I don't know about that story.
Oh, okay. John's back. Hey, is everything okay over there, John?
Yeah, I was drinking. So I
Oh, okay, because I heard you make a noise. I
I'm
didn't know.
sorry.
No, that's
you
all right.
You can hear stuff back there?
Well, yeah. I was just making sure you didn't spill something or something, because you're not even.
She
You're not
said the word humble.
because you're not even supposed. You're only supposed to have water in
there's
here.
nothing in here.
Okay, all right.
She said the word humble, and I freaked out.
Yeah.
It's like maybe she's a plant.
Oh, maybe. All right. So she doesn't. Well, do you have any questions or
I'm
anything?
just saying that's the story. There's all sorts of stories people tell about all these things, and
Yeah.
Yeah. I was only involved in it for 2 years, and
right.
there's a lot you don't know from that era. But what about?
And who?
Okay, go ahead.
Who knows, little John and Matt? Maybe he has a list of things that he can do to, kind of like, Trump. Kind of to divert the attention of public, from the investigations going. And I think they maybe have a few tricks like that.
Yeah. Well.
To throw, in the public arena so we can discuss that. And it's funny because most people have no idea about any of the relationship and how deep and what that agreement actually entailed.
Mm-hmm.
So, it sounds really big, I can't imagine somebody takes newspaper and Trump is pulling out of treaty with Russia. Oh my God, But then if you start looking through that, it really doesn't mean much.
Okay.
Yes, because it's been violated on both sides. It's just like you said, it's obsolete. Now, Victoria, I didn't realize because I really what was going on in Syria, which was interesting when you told me that the Israelis and the Americans were kicking the jopa of the Russian troops there, either the official troops or the
Americans
mercenaries.
killed 300 Russians,
Right.
200 Russians there. And it's funny because Putin said nothing because officially we're not there.
Right, and then the Israelis just kicked their behind. Then Premier Netanyahu was on his way out, I guess.
Is he?
Oh, yeah, the attorney. They say either his party's going to dump him, they're going to have the election, or the attorney general will get him yet again. But he met with Putin yesterday, or is it today? They've already met.
Okay.
Over what happened in Syria. So when we talk about pulling out of Syria, the Americans, what is your take on that? Trump, because Trump talked to somebody, was it John Bolton or somebody wanted him to talk to the the Prime Minister of Turkey, the President of Turkey was a dictator.
Right.
And he calls him up, and then they're all aghast that, oh my God, pull everybody out.
Right.
Without even talking to Mattis or anybody.
Right, yeah. Trump didn't talk to anybody, allegedly, when he announced
Well, there's
that.
an interesting take on that because originally Russia only went to Syria because the United States was there. So Russia needed to meet up with the United States somewhere on international stage. And so on one hand, by pulling out of Syria, Trump is kind of screwing over Putin because that's why Putin was there in the first place.
By pulling out of Syria? But doesn't Putin?
Of course.
Doesn't Putin want us out of there?
He doesn't care. He wanted to meet with the United States anywhere on the world stage. That's his deal. He's fighting the United States, whether it's in Syria, in Ukraine, in Georgia. In his mind, he's fighting the United States.
Oh, so it's just a Potemkin village thing.
Remember, the Putin got expelled from all the
organizations,
the G20,
G8.
all those international big organizations, and so to get back on arena, so he can start talking again to Merkel, to whoever, to the world leaders, he had to come up somewhere so they will start talking to him. And so one of the things was Ukraine and another one was Syria, and he actually achieved that. He met with the United States on the battlefield in a way.
Because
Americans already killed so many Russians. By pulling out on the United States side, they're kind of taking away from Putin his game.
Oh. It's a that's
but
a
by pulling out,
perspective.
he's not just taking away Putin's game, he's also kind of betraying Kurds, and that's really sad.
Well, that's been the biggest outcry that I've heard about Trump announcing this. Is, I mean, that's kind of been everyone's go-to is, what about the Kurds? They've been loyal to us. And this would not be the first time that we've abandoned them. I mean, I remember...
No, after World War I, President Wilson wanted to take care of Armenia and the Kurds.
Mm-hmm.
But the United States didn't have the ability to project the power. And the only thing that saved the Armenians from Ataturk, the Young Turks, was the Red Army.
Well, I was thinking even more recently, too, after the first Gulf War, George H.W. Bush said, the Kurds were encouraged to keep fighting and hold, I guess, is it still Kurdistan? I mean, do we still call it that section of Iraq? But but then we kind of just ended up abandoning them after indicating that we wouldn't. Because
Turkey is in NATO.
Yeah.
That's the most critical crossroads right there. Goes back to when was the there was Russia. Well, we had the Crimean War, or the Crimean War, or the Cream, whatever we're going to call it. That was Britain, France against Russia. Britain and France went to Turkey. Was that 1857 or something? And but then there was a Turkish-Russian war in the 1870s, wasn't there, Victoria? So part of the Great Game that Britain has to protect India, so you have to keep Iran, Persia, and you have Egypt, which was an Anglo-Egyptian, So the Russians, the British and the Russians expanded at the same time into some of the same areas, but Turkey's always been critical. That's the That's the cradle of civilization, of Western civilization. The Chinese would tell us to go, take a flying leap.
Yes.
And they're a nuclear power, too.
Yes, they are.
And an economic powerhouse.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So what's the future of Putin in the short term, Victoria? Just the same old
Well, he'll try to stay in power as long as he can.
Oh, of course. And which could be a long time. He's very fit. I mean, I've seen him shirtless.
It can be long. It's not just because of his fitness. It's because Russia is pretty stable, even though it's very dysfunctional. It's a very stable state. Yeah. It is a state, because we do have a monopoly on violence, so within our country. So, it has services and it has other things, and we have a lot of oil and gas. So even if it's so dysfunctional, we can still, it can last us a couple of decades completely decompose.
Yeah, even with the low oil price. But Victoria, what has
that's American kind of how that's the way America can win over this oil states is just lower the oil price.
And we need the Saudis for that, even though we're now the number one producer.
Yeah.
But Victoria, what has this collusion gate, Trump and the Russians, what has that done for Putin inside Russia? And what do Russians feel about all of this?
It's made him stronger. It's made him very powerful. Made him look like a hero because he can kick somebody's, butt behind, so to speak. It's made him, at least the propaganda and all the media that under his control portray it that way. That Putin is so great that he is meddling in elections of United States.
Yeah, I mean, it must make him look like that much more of a hero, I would think.
Yeah.
What do Russians think about Americans right now and the United States?
I have no idea because it's been the propaganda was against Western civilization, Western culture, Western values.
Really?
So I can imagine that they're pretty negative about anything coming from the West.
Well, let's
and also there is a narrative that when Soviet Union collapsed, the West kind of, instead of helping Russia,
right?
It's kind of promoted it took advantage, let's say, of the fallen state. That's how they portray this whole process of Russia gaining their liberty. Yeah. So I mean that goes deep, and the sad part is that the generation actually grew up under Putin. And so they don't remember World War II. They don't remember really Soviet Union, Stalin, and all those things. So it might be another round, for Russians to go through another authoritarian leader because the new generation is prepared for that psychologically.
Right. Well, that makes sense. Well, Victoria, you've been generous with your time today. Thank you for calling back in. It's really great to get your perspective. Actually, I'd like to do this more often, especially as this whole Russiagate, Russian collusion, and all that as that continues here.
She can even shut me up.
Yes,
that's not easy to do.
That's right. And the Dions have arrived. So, Victoria, thank you so much for giving us a call back and for talking with us.
My pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for listening to me. And I'm very pleased that my opinion matters.
Yes. All right. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Victoria leaves us, and that opens up a line for you. Chris James in the Facebook live chat was getting a little impatient, but Chris is always welcome to listen to something else if he's not enjoying this show. But Ben and Darryl Dion are here. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. How are you? Very good. Matt, how are you?
Good. And I think we have another call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
I wanted to get some Kung Pao chicken. I'm fucking hungry.
Okay. Goodbye.
The squirt won't leave us alone.
No, it's this guy who
does he call in a lot?
He called yesterday, and he's just like he's one of those. I figured him out. He's one of those people. You know how if you jog, you know the people who think it's hilarious to yell swear words out their car window at joggers.
Yeah, I never thought that was hilarious because I was one of the joggers.
Right. No, but I mean, you know the kind of people who think that type of thing is funny, and then they're riding along, and then they're like, "Oh, we yelled swear words at that guy, and we really got him," and then they're all high-fiving each other in the car like a bunch of douchebags who just have no creativity at all, and that's all they can come up with. He's that guy.
Okay.
Which is unfortunate because that guy sucks. I mean, no offense if any of you have ever been that guy, but I really doubt it because you all seem like pretty smart people.
Does he typically use the F-bomb when he calls in?
He did yesterday, yeah.
As well?
Because to him that's funny because he's probably...
It's disturbingly unfunny.
Right. He's probably sitting around right now with a bunch of his douchey friends high-fiving each other, which is the douchiest thing in the world you can possibly do, by the way. But I almost guarantee you that that's what's happening right now, wherever he is. And his mom's probably in his mom's basement or whatever. Oh, I know what we can do that would be funny.
Was the previous caller, she sounded Russian?
She is Russian.
She is Russian,
Oh,
yes.
fantastic.
Yes.
That had to be a great interview or great talk.
Yes.
Does she give you a window into how the Russians are feeling about us?
Yeah, well, that's why it's interesting to talk to her. Are you getting a call from the Russians? Are you involved in this collusion, Darryl Dion? What is going on here?
She might know about Joel Elver's disappearance.
Well, I just think it's very interesting that we're talking about Russians and all of a sudden your phone starts ringing.
It was my mom, okay?
Well, your mom is involved with the Russians?
Not in the least.
This is a terrible scandal. Your whole family's going to get swept up in this Mueller probe. I can't even believe this is happening.
I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to know who this guy is either. You're going to end up like Roger Stone.
Geez, I hope not.
Well, I hope not, too.
I have my father's name, but kind of reversed. And so after he died suddenly, because I had to take care of him, suddenly his credit report's on mine, which was both good and bad. Mostly bad, though.
Yeah. Why? Was he mixed up with the Russians?
He enjoyed, just like this guy that enjoys calling in and F-bombing, my father enjoyed not paying credit card companies, even though he had the money. It was just like...
So
he enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
What did this woman say about how the Russians feel about us?
This woman.
Her name is Victoria.
I'm sorry, Victoria.
Or John calls her Vika. Or what's the other name you have for her? Kukla.
Remember Kukla, Fran, and Ollie?
Kukla?
Oh, yeah.
Kukla means puppet, like doll. Doll. It'd be doll.
Oh, I was going to say, I hope you wouldn't call her a puppet. That'd be kind of weird.
Oh, doll.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, we didn't talk specifically about how the Russian people themselves feel about us. Well, no, I mean, I guess we kind of did at the end because she mentioned how, all they know is the propaganda that they're fed, right? So they probably view us as the bad guys who beat them in the Cold War and took advantage and all that,
Well, according to Victoria, known her for a long time now, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, people looked to the United States, but things didn't work out very well. There's all sorts of reasons for that. But Putin keeps in power by being anti-American.
Right.
Now, there was a democracy, as I talked to her, Yeltsin. Under Yeltsin, they had a Duma. And they did have a parliamentary democracy. And she told me there was a free press, which they don't have now. Journalists get shot, which probably excites his colluding pal.
Oh.
But, And they used to criticize Yeltsin. And the rise of Putin, there was many reasons for it. He took over the management of the Second Chechenian War, which was genocidal.
Mm-hmm.
It was brutal, and on both sides. And he saw how they'd be treating Yeltsin. He won't tolerate that.
Right.
But it just went back to what it was. It was no laws.
Yeltsin was interesting. He sure made Bill Clinton laugh.
Yeah,
you remember that weird press conference where Bill Clinton was like doubling over with laughter over something
Well, they have a lot in
Yeltsin said?
common. Remember, there's a famous thing. He couldn't be in the war because he had some major firecracker went off and blew part of his hand off.
Yeah.
But he could use that to pinch, the Devishka. Don't you remember he pinched a woman?
Oh, yes. Well,
so, kindred spirits, right?
Well, the thing is, when you're the leader of Russia, they'll just let you do that. You can do anything.
Well,
you can just grab them by the whatever.
He's what you'd call grab him by the jopa, and then
grab him by the jopa. Yeah.
Their minds and wills will follow.
Yeah.
But he was what you'd call a flaming red party boss.
Okay.
Which is equivalent to like a mafia don, really, but more powerful.
Yeah.
And
Yeltsin?
That was like the reign of the gangsters.
Oh, yeah.
Now you just have the reign back to Stalin,
Right.
Except it's Putin.
Well, I mean, some would argue we kind of have some of that going on here.
See, it'd be interesting because Victoria and I would like to talk about, because she's been a United States citizen for a long time now. Russia becomes like the United States, everything. But it's, in no way in degree is that true. Because we have law.
That's right.
We're a nation of laws, and it's working out.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Barr's going to become Attorney General, I guess, in a few, probably tomorrow.
Yeah, he's most likely to be confirmed.
They're going to confirm him tomorrow?
Right. The Senate committee. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any great objections to him raised by the Democrats, right?
Everything I've read, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is who he is, and he was an Attorney General under H.W. Bush, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched this afternoon this, I don't know if you've seen it, I think a reasonably new movie about what happened in Iraq, Shock and Awe.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No, I'm aware of it, but I haven't seen it.
It was about the Ritter.
Scott Ritter?
No, the Ritter newspaper.
I'm
trying to remember the name of it. I can't quite remember it. They were the only ones that had it right. In other words, they're the only publication that was saying throughout the entire Iraq war that there were no WMDs. And there weren't.
Right.
and it was Tommy Lee Jones was in it. It was pretty good.
The Israelis destroyed their nuclear plant back in '81, and our CIA under Reagan managed to make sure that they didn't have them. And then you had Iran-Contra.
Yeah.
I think the message I got out of it was a similar thing as Vietnam when the government screws up, our soldiers die.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what's happened in the Middle East. Exactly.
Yeah,
and they hit it right. They nailed it. They nailed it right on the head. Why we shouldn't have gone to Iraq?
Oh, sure.
There's no reason.
Well, my theory for a long time has been that.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I was going to say my theory for a long time has been not to be conspiratorial, but I think that I think it was intentional getting bogged down because that helps fuel the military-industrial complex.
Yes, it does.
Because the invasion went so spectacularly well and quick and easy, and then the occupation, everything immediately went to hell. And I just find it hard to believe that no one foresaw that. So I think they did. I think they did foresee it.
Colin Powell foresaw it. He wanted the Vietnam doctrine.
Yeah.
You go in, you got to get out in a certain amount of time.
Yeah. And he said, you break it, you own it.
And Rumsfeld was such a jerk.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Darth Rumsfeld.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Watching that again, I paid close attention this time to make sure that they were right in terms of their analysis of what was going on.
Yeah.
And it's just truly amazing how we ended up in Iraq. Truly, truly amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently we needed to, attack somebody.
Right.
They could have picked the right guy.
Yeah.
Or the right country, I should say.
Right. Well,
or maybe not even attack at all.
Well, we had done Afghanistan, and then it was like, all right, now we'll go there next.
Well,
and you know, it was Wahhabis from Saudi Arabia who attacked us on 9/11.
You know it, but we're in bed with the Saudis, so we can't attack them.
Exactly.
But a bit, but a boop. Very sad.
But, you know, that was the I don't know if they brought it up in the movie. The invasion of Iraq was, I remember Henry Kissinger, the old war criminal himself, saying that violated 350 years of international law since the Treaty of Westphalia. And, yeah. But it shows you the presidency because allegedly Saddam tried to kill his father. And he brings us into this war. But it was an oil war to control that significant oil resources. But you want to know, did they point out the fact that they were about to lift the sanctions after killing like 150,000 Iraqis because of the lack of, drugs and all that? And Saddam, who was a fool to do it, gave the contracts to the Russians and the French. French aren't going to help you, and the Russians weren't, rather than to Americans and England. Mm-hmm. Because remember, the English went in there, the British at Basra, because Iraq was created by the British. And Lawrence of Arabia, as an RFA, when he was still an officer, participated in the bombing of Iraq and the machine gunning of villages and stuff, and talked about how wonderful that it's all working out. Mm-hmm. And you can control a country with air power. Mm-hmm. But no, he was so arrogant. I'm going to give the contracts to Russia. What was Antonova, France. You don't do stuff like that.
Right.
But he's got to, give the finger to the Bushes.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't work out very well, did it? For him.
No.
But it's crazy. All my friends who were in the military then were against that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people that got out of their commissions and
Yeah. There was that line. I mean, Trump did the State of the Union, and I was actually, Ben, you had liked one of my comments. I forget what it was.
Oh, during the State of the Union?
Yeah. I forget, do you remember what it was?
I don't know.
I could probably just look, but
you watched it.
I watched the whole thing, actually.
I couldn't stand it.
Oh, it was tough to watch.
It was long.
Tough watch.
The wall.
I was just curious, though. I mean, I think I hadn't watched his previous one all the way through, but I'd watched other State of the Unions all the way through.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to watch it. It's a piece of history.
The only thing that I agree, I'm with you, but the only thing that makes it so long is all the applause breaks. Like the speech
I heard
itself.
they were 98.
It doesn't surprise me. The speech itself is like 10 pages long, apparently, but it ends up being 90 minutes because
right.
Ben, do they always take an hour to get to the podium?
Yeah.
I saw one by Obama and I saw one by Clinton.
Well, they got to shake everyone's hands that comes forward, and
so he just wasn't being a jackass.
No. It was pretty much how it usually is.
Oh, okay.
Except for the speech.
Yeah. Yeah. I just once he started, all this boilerplate, and
he finished strong. Of course they always do.
Finish strong.
A bunch of rah stuff at the end, that always goes over well. And Trump does manage to pull it off well enough that he looks like he means it when he's doing it.
He's a marketer.
He is, yeah. I made a comment. You can always tell when he's getting tired. He sort of leans into the podium.
Oh yeah. I only lasted. Nancy picked up and she started. My old friend Nancy was reading stuff in Backman, which I thought was great because once it's true. If you ever go on a movie set, I don't know if you've been in any of the movies the guys have been making. How a character actor can steal a scene is they'll just start doing what's called business. You'll pick something up or you'll play with it. Steve McQueen, when he was a bit player, was an expert at that. Used to drive the other people crazy.
He had a couple of things that I liked. I mean, he said there was a line: "Great nations do not fight endless wars." I like that. Talking my language
they
there.
They actually do seem to do that.
Is that endless war in the Middle East? That's what he's talking about?
I believe
and
so.
It was sold to us as an unending war.
Right, of course.
It would never be over, the war on terror.
Good point. That's true. And the hour has come to at least try for peace. I like that. He made me nervous on Venezuela, but then he kind of kept moving. So
he's not thinking about going there, is he?
Well, people are worried about it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either.
Their oil, they have very dirty oil. It's the lowest grade. So
that's a hotbed. You can't go there.
It's always been.
I said Pelosi looked genuinely surprised about the nationwide family leave because that used to be a Democratic issue, but a lot of Republicans have actually picked that up, and supposedly that's a pet issue of Ivanka, although I never hear her talk about it anymore.
Oh, please.
But she's probably too worried about ending up in prison to really focus on it. And I did say hearing people applaud withdrawing from the INF is odd to me.
But as Vika explained,
yeah,
it's an obsolete treaty.
But I also said some criticisms of his speech. I said nobody is pushing for open borders because he made the assertion that the Democrats want open borders. Nobody says
Nobody
open
says
borders.
that at all.
Actually, in reality, that's what you
They just want to use the technology and the manpower on the ground. Let's wake up.
Right, exactly. I said the use of the word
disagree.
homeland is always creepy to me. What do you mean?
It's Germanic, Nazi-like.
What is? Oh, the use of the word homeland? Yeah. Well, that's why
the homeland's been invaded. Stalin called it the motherland.
Well, that's why we...
And he opened up the churches after putting out every priest in the Gulag.
That's why when Bush started the... what is it called? The Homeland Security? It was like, what?
Yeah, please.
Headed by former Pennsylvania Governor Tom Ridge at the time. My biggest post was, and this was where, because I hate his rhetoric on immigration. I said O for F's sake, except I didn't say F. Painting all illegal aliens as prospective murderers is so mind-numbingly racist. Undocumented immigrants are statistically less inclined to criminal behavior, which makes sense, given that most of them are actually people who overstayed their visas and would prefer not to get in trouble and end up deported.
And what did I respond to you on that?
You wrote a big...
you've never seen fake papers? I have.
Right. And I said...
That's how you effectively use illegal aliens.
Yeah.
Or illegal or undocumented.
But you always respond with that, but you're arguing against a point that I'm not making. In other words, I'm arguing against
a straw man argument.
Yes, because I'm arguing against the demagoguery of painting them all as murderers, and then you're making this anti-illegal immigration argument. But I'm not arguing in favor of illegal immigration. I'm just saying I don't like the demagoguery.
You don't?
No.
What would we have to talk about? I'd have to be.
Because I
shoveling again and start interrupting you.
Because I think you probably agree with me on the demagoguery.
Like 99% of the stuff, but
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Cantankerous.
You do, yes.
What's the fun in that?
No, I agree. It's more interesting to not agree.
Well, I was with last month? A friend of mine who was immigrant from Mexico. He's a U.S. citizen now, and he's complaining about the Guatemalans.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, people are exactly the same.
Oh, yeah.
No matter where Chad.
That is...
people are all... The village next over.
People are the same wherever you go.
They are and they aren't. But
there is
no,
good and bad in everyone.
Yeah, but then you make the mistake thinking that somebody... you're in a culture... They aren't Americans.
We should do that song. We should sing that song together sometime. Ebony and Ivory.
Oh, man. I've been struggling with nausea all day.
We'll go to Virginia, and one of us can wear blackface. Apparently, that's acceptable there.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all good. And
wasn't it wild how that all came down?
In 1983.
Wow.
What's he thinking?
Well, that's where that's why they say Virginia. What is
for lovers.
Virginia is for blackface.
Truly amazing. I mean, really.
Yeah.
They'd have to go to the fourth guy in to get a governor.
And they're going to end up with a Republican because of that.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
very amusing.
Yeah.
What you did 35 years ago.
I agree with you. It's just
can atone for it.
But the way they're handling it couldn't possibly be more clumsy. It's amazing.
Like, yike.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
It was me, then it wasn't me, and you can't tell who it is, and maybe I was drunk. It's your yearbook.
It's like you just say, look, it was 35 years ago. I was a dumb kid. Obviously, I know better now, and be done with it. But no.
No. You know, it's incredible. What I've noticed recently, and for probably all of time, is that elected officials think their constituents are stupid.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, let's get blunt about it. I mean, really.
Oh, yeah. No, that's...
and they think they can do whatever they want to do and let it get by the American people.
That's right. No.
We're listening.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we will start to wrap up because, of course, the weekly Dion is coming up next. And what have you got coming up, Darryl?
We got Mr. Peter Telge.
Yeah, I know Peter. I used to do a lot of shows at Millie's. Now it's the Stark Mill Brewery, right?
Yeah, we went there last week for supper. Outstanding.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Is he still distilling liquors?
Yes.
Yeah, they got great beer there.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, Ben had one.
Just one?
Yes, just one.
Well, his dad was with him.
How many do you have, Darryl?
0.
All right, so stick around for that. The weekly Dion is coming up next right here on WMNH. And if you've missed any part of today's show, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. And tomorrow we'll have the members of Sepsis here in the studio live with us. And that's it for us for now. I will talk at y'all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.
See you, Matt.
IPMNation.com.